A famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark. To find adventure. But instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when life flashes before us, we find something. Something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us. When all seemed lost, I found a truth. And I knew what I must become.
Hello and welcome to Tomb Raider 2013. Extras, that's what I want to put it to. Hello there, little pumpkin. Welcome on in. Hey there, Donna. Welcome back. You love this game? I don't blame you. I really enjoy this one. Can't believe it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. So many games this year are celebrating anniversaries. It's just crazy. Little Pumpkin, you remember when you first played this with your ex? He was, wow, look how great the graphics are. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, you had such a difference happening between the gen before this and this generation as well. So, I was doing a stream of Shadow of the Tomb Raider earlier, and throughout that stream, after I died the first time in that stream, I said that I would probably end up doing split streams of that game and other Tomb Raider games every Friday. And I restarted the game, and then I died, and then was like, fuck it. So I stopped the stream of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So starting today, there'll be split streams. So one stream will be Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm going to be restarting again from the start. And then however far I get into that first stream, that'll be that stream, and then I'll end it and then jump back to this game. So this is the other Tomb Raider game that I'll be streaming from here on out, at least for the next month or so probably. Look, Pumpkin, how did Shadow of the Tomb Raider go? Sad you missed it. Oh, it was a shit show. I died twice in that stream. making the count now 10 times that I've had to restart from the start. Yeah, so I was quite pissed off. So much so that when I put my controller down hard on my desk, it actually turned the controller off. So here we are with the first of 3 playthroughs celebrating this game, so I'll be doing them back to back. So once one playthrough of this is finished, doing one thing, then the next one will happen, doing another thing. Then when that one's finished, the third playthrough will happen, where I'm doing something else. So for this first stream, because this was kind of not 100% expected that I would be doing this, I'm not actually going to be starting the game itself, because I actually had plans to do other stuff in conjunction to playing the game as well. I was going to set up like all these videos to watch, but I need more time to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is treat this as kind of like a prologue type of thing to the first part of the playthrough. So just a heads up, there won't be any actually playing the game in this stream. It's going to be a short stream, but I still wanted to make a start on it, because I did say at the end of finishing my Shadow of the Tomb Raider stream that I was going to do that. I don't want to be a liar and be like, you know. So here we are with the first stream of Tomb Raider 2013 to celebrate its 10th anniversary. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have a look at some of the behind the scenes. Now, these are the videos that are actually with the game, but I'm going to seek and find some other videos for the next stream, which will be next week, so we can actually see a lot more other stuff. Hopefully, have to actually have a look for it. But the game, the Definitive Edition, does come with some videos as well, and it also comes with a comic book, which is actually a prequel, telling you what happened before they all got on the ship, the Endurance. So I'll be covering that in this stream. So this stream will be watching these videos and covering this comic book, and then that'll be this stream, and then next week, in the next stream, by that point I will have looked on YouTube to have a look at some other behind the scenes stuff, and then come up with like a compilation of sort of things to look at in that as well. So let's go and have a look at the videos. So we have the trailers, which is cool. So I'll definitely be showing the trailers, and then you've got the final hours as well, which detail the final hours before the game was sent off to be, you know, released. Little Pumpkin, lol, that doesn't sound like fun. It's not, trust me. I can't wait to get that playthrough over and done with.
A famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark. To find adventure. But instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when life flashes before us, we find something. Something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us. when all seemed lost, I found a truth. And I knew what I must become.
Alright, so that trailer is Turning Point. That actually plays if you just let the game go. But I still wanted to showcase that separately as well. So the next trailer that we'll look at that came with the Definitive Edition is Crossroads.
Please come and get me.
Easy. We're regrouping at my location.
Get the hell off me!
But some of the others wanted to go further inland. After that, I never saw any of them again.
Lara, you're alive! Hey! Get off of me! Let go of her!
You waited so long.
He took her. He took Sam.
Who took Sam?
A man, like the one who killed Steph.
Любишь играться в прятки, малышка?
Get back!
No one escapes. Вылезай!
You can do it, Laura. After all, you're a Croft.
I don't think I'm that kind of Croft.
Sure you are. You just don't know it yet.
Kill them all!
I hate tombs.
There we go, so that was the Crossroads trailer. Hey there, best dude. And there was a character mentioned named Steph. Steph. And that's a character that you actually see at the start of the game. She's actually dead when you see her. But in the game, Lara doesn't comment on her being Steph. Steph doesn't know her name, doesn't, say, oh my god, Steph, or anything like that. But that is who Steph originally was. So for some reason they took her out as a character that was kind of like mentioned in the game, as well as being commented on by Lara from the perspective of, this is someone that I know, or who this person is, you know. I think Lara does say something in the game to the dead body, but she doesn't know who it is, whereas in that trailer we saw her refer to that character as Steph. So that was that trailer. Little Pumpkin, I hate tombs. Yeah, that was an interesting quote, because people from hearing it, not everyone, but some people from hearing it were like, that's it? I hate this version of Lara Croft now, because she said that she hates tombs. Completely missing the point that she's saying it because she's dealing with this situation right now, and she doesn't want to have a holiday on the island. She doesn't want to just stand around and admire the scenery. She's got killers who are trying to kill her, and she's trying to survive. She's trying to rescue her friends. She can't just stand still and admire the scenery and enjoy herself. So the reason she says I hate tombs is because it's like, oh, I just want to get and survive and get to Sam. You know, I don't need to go through these tombs to get to her. You know what I mean? So that's how it's meant to be taken, and it's also meant to be taken as a tongue-in-cheek, sly sort of thing. You know, it would be like if I can actually use an example in Casino Royale, right? James Bond, he loves martinis. In all the other movies, he's like, you know, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred, right? In Casino Royale, he gets asked the question, how would you like your martini, shaken or stirred? He's like, do I look like I give a damn? Is what he responds with. Does that now mean that James Bond doesn't like, you know, that drink, and therefore he's not really James Bond? No. You know, it's just a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's kind of like a wink to the audience that, you know, the character is doing some kind of like commentary on the situation, you know. So it's when Lara says I hate tombs, she doesn't mean that she hates them and that she'll never ever go into them, you know, or anything like that. It's just that given the situation, she doesn't have time to enjoy the scenery. You know, what do they expect her to go? Oh, this is so awesome, exploring these tombs, while meanwhile my friend is probably or potentially getting killed. But I just need to explore this tomb, you know. Like, I get it, you know, it's called Tomb Raider, so you expect to explore some tombs. And gameplay-wise, obviously, they let you do that. But if this was a situation happening IRL, there'd be no way Lara Croft, even if it was the classic version, you know, would just stop and, you know, look through the tombs, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be a leisurely thing, you know? So I think having a character make a comment like that, it's supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, it's not supposed to be taken as a be-all, end-all justification, sorry, a be-all, end-all kind of like, you know, definitive showing of what the character's like. It's just a throwaway line that's done for humor, that doesn't have any deeper meaning to it. It's just a heat of the moment sort of like thing. Like, I hate tombs, you know. Even Nathan Drake in the Uncharted games, I can't remember which one it is, he complains about climbing. So does that mean that Nathan Drake shouldn't be considered a good character anymore because he said he doesn't, you know, because he criticized the fact that he has to do more climbing? Of course not, you know. People who love their job, you know, if you have a very bad day, if you say, fuck, I hate this job, like, are you meaning literally that are you always meaning that you hate it? No, of course not. You might just be having a very bad day at your job, and you might be like, oh, fuck this job, you know. It's like games, when I get angry at a game, when I say, oh, fuck this game, you know, I still like the game, it's just that at that point in time, it's making me frustrated, so I'm saying, you know, I hate this game, you know. It doesn't mean I hate it for all time and the rest of eternity, you know what I mean? Yeah, Little Pumpkin said that I hate tombs thing. Hey there, Maxi. Welcome on in, dude. It's going not too badly, and no, I didn't finish the game. I'm doing split streams from now on until I get the game done. Because if I spend any more weeks on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I won't be able to get all the other Tomb Raider games that I need to get done. So, yeah. So starting today, it's going to be split streams of Shadow of the Tomb Raider and this game to celebrate its 10th anniversary. I actually died twice in the one stream, and wasn't in the mood to restart from the start again today, and I just need to add another Tomb Raider game to the schedule so I'm doing split streams now. The pumpkin, yeah, exactly. You know, it's just a tongue-in-cheek, one-off thing. Don't know, wow, Rod, you really go in deep. Involuntary Tomb Raider. Yeah, that's the situation, you know. But yeah, if this was all happening in real time, like, Lara wouldn't have time to, you know, admire the beauty of tombs, you know, given what's going on. But at least they put challenge tombs in there that you can do, you know, which is something. And when you think about it, she does go to tombs, you know, throughout the game. So it's not like there's no tombs in the game at all. It's just that narratively and focus-wise, it's more fast-paced. If this was a movie, and forget the fact that they did a movie, but let's just say you were doing a movie, you wouldn't have Lara going around exploring places. You know, that would slow down the movie. You know what I mean? So you'd have Lara just admiring the view, meanwhile Sam is potentially, and from Lara's perspective, she doesn't know if Sam's going to get killed or not. You know what I mean? So she'd be like, shit, oh, but I've got to spend an hour in this location first, admiring it and looking around. It's like, no. It's just, we're still dealing with a video game, so you still need to have video game stuff in it. But if you're solely looking at it from the perspective of real events that were happening, there's no way that Lara would spend time, you know, exploring tombs. So there's that factor, but the fact that she says I hate tombs isn't supposed to be her condemning tombs for the rest of time, and then therefore, you know, and as we see in the sequel, she does still go to tombs, you know. And while there are certain points in the stories where there's urgency, you know, it's not full-on urgency like it is in this one, where it's like your very survival is at stake and your friends' lives are at stake, so you can't waste time. Little Pumpkin, you took that quote as, I'm not that type of Croft, in connection to that she really wasn't Tomb Raider, and she was basically became that once she saw her dad might be onto something in Rise of the Tomb Raider, to add more to this too. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. You know, this is very much her origin story, like not the classic Lara's origin story, but this version's origin story. You know, like classic Lara, she had a survival situation that she had to go to as well, that she had to go through. You know, where she had to sort of like learn to survive. It's just that we didn't play that. You know, we didn't really see that either. You know. But classic Lara, you know, the plane crash in the Himalayas and having to survive until she was discovered by the monks, you know, she had to learn to survive on her own, you know, and it was that experience that gave her the strength to be in those situations in the future. And that's why in the future, when we see Lara, you know, in those situations, you know, she's used to it, you know, whereas this version of Lara Croft, you know, has a completely different origin story to the classic Lara. And they decided to have the game be about that, you know, so we get to experience the traumatic situation that Lara gets put in, you know, whereas in the classic Lara's case, we never got the opportunity to play that part of her life. We get to see how she is after all that's already happened, you know, where in this game, we're actually seeing her, how things, you know, are happening to her and all that kind of stuff. But the other aspect that this game goes for, of course, is there's a level of realism that it's looking to go for. But not full realism. No video game is ever going to achieve full realism, and if they are, it's not going to be a video game because people aren't going to be interested in playing it. For example, if you had a game where if your character breaks their leg, you literally have to wait the same amount of time in real life that it would take for a broken leg to mend, how many people are going to be willing to wait on months for the game to be ready to say, right, you know, log in, try to play the game. We're sorry, but you have to wait another 6 months before you can play the rest of this game because your character's leg is still broken. You know what I mean? So there's a certain level of realism that games try to get. At the same time, there's video game logic that gets interweaved in with that too. So you're never going to fully get a game that is 100% realistic without the gameplay elements being added. You know, so they go for that, and times changed with character development and also presentation in how they're told, how their life is told in the story as well. Like if you look at the very first Tomb Raider game, there's not many moments where you get the internalized thinking of what Lara's thought process of is beat by beat, you know what I mean? And we never see her in pain. we hear her make a noise of being in pain when she gets hit, but we don't actually see any scenes in the original Tomb Raider where she has to take a time out to heal herself, you know, to literally see her heal herself, you know, because that's not what games were focusing on back then. You know, stories in games and characters in games were still relatively being basically told in basic ways, you know, but as time went on, things became more cinematic in gameplay, and that's when you get Uncharted with Nathan Drake being like a movie in video game form. It's still a video game, there's still video game logic that has to be put in there, you know, but they went for a level of realism and a level of showing how the character is. And it's not just the Tomb Raider reboot series that took that idea, it's something that heaps of games have taken and gone with, yet they don't get criticized for being quote-unquote copies of Uncharted. You know, it's just a different way of telling stories with a character and all that kind of stuff. So when it came to this game, they were like, we need to show Lara in pain, and we need to show her struggling, we need to show her being emotional, which is a very human thing, you know what I mean? Because that's more of a focus, whereas in the classic Lara, that wasn't what they were trying to do. You know, and that's fine, you know, because classic Lara is awesome. I like both. I'm just trying to say that the way that characters were done in video games in the 90s versus now and in the early 2010s is very, very, very different. There's a night and day difference in that kind of stuff. So we see Lara go through this situation where she's in pain, you know, she's getting injured. Yes, the injury she's sustaining in real life would kill her, but this is still a video game, remember? It's not a documentary they're trying to show you, you know. So obviously she's not going to die from things that in real life would kill someone, because it's a video game, you know. But they're still adding a level of realism to where when she gets hurt, she fucking feels the pain. If she needs to heal herself, you'll see her actually heal herself. You know, there's several scenes where she has to do that, you know. So it's just a different way of, you know, conveying a character through their actions and what happens to them and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't really the way that they did things in the early 90s with video games. Maxi, totally understandable, dude. Thank you. Yeah, it was just getting to a point where it's like, look, if this is going to take me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to get through Shadow of the Tomb Raider on an attempt where I don't die, then all these other Tomb Raider playthroughs I've got planned for the rest of the year aren't going to be happening in a way that gives me plenty of time to do them without really rushing at the last second, which I wanted to avoid. Well, thank you, Little Pumpkin, for enjoying the Reds. Yeah, I just get very, very sort of like passionate about that kind of stuff. Because, you know, I grew up watching movies as well as playing video games. So when video games started to take on more characteristics that movies had, I got really excited for the future of, you know, the combination. And as you go through, you see how things, you know, evolved with how video games tell their stories. And it went just beyond, here's a cutscene, and then boom. You know, Uncharted really brought the cinematic feel into the actual gameplay as well as the cutscenes that you'd sit back and watch. Yeah, Donna. You know, so it's just something, you know. Like I don't, you know, mind if people hate this game and this version of Lara. That's fine, you know. But I think given how video games have changed, it made sense with this version of Lara to not just completely do the same version of Lara that had been done in 1996, you know, because that's what we're really looking at here. We're looking at a Tomb Raider game from 1996, the original, with classic Lara, versus a 2013 reboot of Lara where they're changing the character. You know, Tomb Raider Legend was a soft reboot, whereas this was a hard reboot, you know, where they're saying this version is actually completely different to any other version that you've ever seen before. And that's why they make changes like her height, which, by the way, is very funny when people criticize the fact that this Lara is shorter. It's like, so you can only be a heroic person if you're tall? Is that what they're really saying? You know, when you start to actually look and unravel the logic behind some of these criticisms, they really fall flat, you know, where it's like, oh, so Lara's shorter in this version than she is in the last version, which is a bad thing, implying that only tall characters are worthy of being put into video games. If you're a short character, then you're not, you know, worthy of being put into a video game. It's like, no, of course not. That would be ridiculous, right? You know, but in criticizing the height of Lara, it's like, well, what are you really saying? You know, that you would prefer only Lara be tall? And if that's your measurement for whether the character's good or not, then it's like, well, what other characters who aren't tall do you like? And if you like characters who aren't tall, but you're also saying that Lara should be tall, then why do you like the characters who are short? You know, there's more to a character than just one attribute. You know, when people boil one person down to one attribute, that is, you know, not being true to that person's, you know, individualism. And, you know, nothing is completely original and no one is completely individual. There's something, you know, everyone has their own way of doing things, but that doesn't mean that there's nowhere else, anyone else on the planet who thinks the same way and does the same thing, you know. But there's nuances as well, and that's the difference between the classic Lara and the reboot Lara, is there's whole different, you know, attributes that are being looked at. Some are new, that are only with this version of Lara, you know, and some are things that are carried over from classic into this. And I think one of the reasons why I really love the character so much in any version is because at the heart of both versions there's this desire to just keep pushing forward no matter what obstacle gets put in their path. And whether they're in pain and they'd rather just, you know, go into a cave and not push forward, or keep pushing forward even despite of that, that's the difference that is similar to both characters. You know, they're both pushing forward. You know, classic Lara, you know, is not going to just give up. You know, it's not, oh, there's a dinosaur there, I'm going to give up. No, she keeps fighting and keeps moving forward. What does reboot Lara do? You know, people are trying to kill her. Does she just huddle in the corner in a mess and not do anything? No. You know, she's still scared, and that's okay. You know, she's still scared, but she's still pushing forward. You know, I think that's something that's very inspirational for, you know, both versions of the character to take away as well. Little Pumpkin, that'd be a totally shit game waiting that long. It would be, like waiting 6 months of real time for your character's leg to not be broken anymore just so you can continue playing the game. You know, that'd be ridiculous to take games to that level of realism. She was quite emotional in Tomb Raider Legend too. She was awesome there. It makes a big sense that in the older, she's less emotional, more experiences, more used to these things. Yeah, you know, and Lara's in her 30s in the classic version, whereas in this version she's in her 20s, you know, and in this game early 20s, you know, whereas Lara in Tomb Raider, the original, she's in her early 30s. So a decade worth of experience versus not having those experiences yet, you know. It is, Donna, it really is. I absolutely love playing through the Uncharted games. They were just really, really fun as well. And I love the style of gameplay. I just really enjoy it. So that's one of the reasons why I really like it. And the similarities that it has with you know, Prince of Persia and Indiana Jones are the things that made me like it. So, you know, the fact that it also took from Tomb Raider and then Tomb Raider took some from it, I'm fine with that because it didn't completely just copy. Because I don't remember there being any leveling up system in Uncharted. There's no XP system. You don't go around in Uncharted collecting things to get XP. There's no campfires that you go to. There's no skill tree that you unlock. You don't unlock experience to get a skill point to make, you know, Nathan Drake hold onto ledges longer or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of differences, you know, in the reboot Tomb Raiders versus Uncharted. But the similarities are what make me like Uncharted as well. You know, so they're what draws me to these games. Now granted, just because a game has the same things that I like in it doesn't guarantee it's going to be awesome. You know, I could have played this game and thought it was shit. I could have played Uncharted and thought it was shit. I could have played Prince of Persia and thought it was shit, but I didn't, you know, because I genuinely like those games, you know. So when I played Uncharted for the first time, I was like, fuck yeah, this is right up my alley. I love these types of games. Run, jump, climb, parkour. You know, these moments, these death-defying moments where the character's almost going to die, but at the last second they grab onto something. You know, those sorts of things. I love that in video games. You know, so I just really enjoyed the Uncharted series quite a lot. Little Pumpkin, good thing you don't check any criticism, you just play the game and check dev stuff. By the way, Ninja Theory released a new podcast about Hellblade 1. It's on their YouTube. Really cool episodes if you want to listen. Thanks for the heads up, Little Pumpkin, because their work in that game is just looking really, really cool. And that's understandable as well, you know. And there's nothing wrong with not liking something. It's just that, you know, there's some criticism where it's the logic of the criticism kind of unravels when you actually examine it and break it up into different things and stuff. Like, I like rain, right? But do I like rain on my head and no way to get under shelter for 6 hours? No, of course not, you know. It's not the fact that it's the rain that I don't like, it's the fact of being stuck in it for 6, you know, hours without any cover to go under, you know. It's like, I like this food, but that doesn't mean someone else is going to like this food, you know. There's always going to be differences like that, which are understandable to have. You know, but if you're saying I love this game because the character's tall and I hate characters in games that are short, yet you look at another game where the character's short and you're like, I love this character, but you said you don't love characters that are short. No, but I love this character, but they're short. Yeah, but I love this character. You know, so that kind of logic sort of breaks down, you know what I mean? So that's something that with Lara herself, it's like, whether Lara is as tall as she is in the classic or a bit shorter than the classic version, it doesn't worry me. It's not, I'm not looking at that and going, this is the sole deciding factor on whether I like one or the other. No other element matters, it's just this one element. And if this element doesn't please me, then that means that no other game for the rest of all time that has that element is going to please me. It's like, no, it's like, it's just different, you know. Classic Lara's taller, and Reboot Lara's shorter, but both kick ass and both are great characters. That's a win-win. So now we're going to actually watch the Final Hours episodes. So for those who have been here since the start, you already know that I've mentioned that this stream won't have any gameplay. But I just want to reiterate for people who might have joined that I'm not actually going to be starting the gameplay of this game in this stream. This is kind of like a 90% unexpected stream to be doing. So next week I'm going to be looking for more videos to actually look at of the Tomb Raider game, and then what I'll do is actually read the prequel comic before actually jumping into the game. But I'll be doing that next week in next week's stream. But this stream will just be going over the trailers and looking at the behind the scenes. I was going to do the prequel comic in this stream, but if I'm not starting the actual game until next week and not until after I've shown some more behind the scenes stuff, then I may as well just wait to read the comic as well.
Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here, just outside of San Francisco, California, at world-class development studio Crystal Dynamics, whose current project is the reimagining of the Tomb Raider franchise. From now until the game launches, we're going to be hopping around the globe, bringing you exclusive first looks at some of the key ingredients that are shaping and creating this world. First stop, Digital Domain, Los Angeles, California, to meet one of the most crucial pieces of the Tomb Raider puzzle, Lara Croft herself. I'm Zachary Levi, and these are the final hours of Tomb Raider. Digital Domain. This is where they do a lot of mocap for big Hollywood films and video games like Tomb Raider. And today, we are gonna meet the new Lara Croft, who is around here somewhere. Teaser. And this is where the magic happens. I think that might be the new Lara Croft. That's the new Lara Croft. Since 1996, many actors have played the part of Lara Croft, but for the reboot of this franchise, the team conducted an exhaustive international search for someone who could bring a whole new level of emotion to a character who's become so familiar. In late 2010, a young English-born actress was chosen to become one of the most recognizable characters in video games.
My
My name is Camilla Luddington. I'm a British actress living in Los Angeles. I am the voice and character of Lara Croft, the British heroine. When I was first approached for it, I really felt overwhelmed at the honor of playing an icon like Lara Croft. I think I screamed in my car, actually, when I heard that I got the role.
Lara Croft, one of the most iconic female characters in all of gaming. This is really her origin story, how Lara became the super badass that she is in later years.
She is just a young, naive, perhaps 21-year-old who has a thirst for adventure. We're used to seeing Lara Croft as just the cold-hearted, almost killer, and she's a badass and everything, but I think in this, you see her struggle.
You can do this, Lara.
Please come and get me.
When we went through the process of looking for actresses the world over, I mean, this was Europe, this was LA, we had hundreds and hundreds of actresses that were whittled down, and we ended up with Camilla.
She had sort of that rawness that we wanted. Was somebody who not only wanted the part, but was willing to push her character into that emotional area that we wanted.
Let's learn a little bit about Camilla. Where are you from?
I am from a town in England called Ascot in Berkshire. And it's
like those things you wear around your neck.
Really didn't do TV or film or anything until I got here in Los Angeles. But really, I had a stage background, which I also think helps though with this because this is almost feels like performing on a stage.
Yes!
So here we are. This is performance capture stage.
The volume.
The volume, they call it. That's interesting. You'll have to explain that to me later.
I don't know why.
I think maybe it's like a measurement thing, like height and width and depth.
I'm gonna go
that
with yes.
Creates volume.
Yeah.
Math nerd.
And you also do get nifty props.
Yes, and what's a fun fact about this?
Careful.
Oh,
You can hit somebody. Jeez.
wow. Is that they'll put Velcro on this, and they'll be like, okay, you're gonna have a gun and another gun, and they'll just stick to you.
How much Velcro does a bazooka need to stay on tightly?
A lot.
There had to have been a lot of pressure as far as being the new Lara.
It was intimidating.
Did you go run around in the woods? Did you go hunt boar with a bow and arrow?
Well, what's funny is I actually did archery when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, at the time you're thinking, why do I need archery? When am I going to use a bow and arrow? And now I know why.
Interestingly enough.
No!
Is Lara a video game icon? A sex symbol?
I think she's both.
Oh!
Obviously, she's a game icon, but I also think she's a sex symbol because she fights for what she believes in. She's courageous, and I think those things are sexy. The shorts are gone.
That's a bummer.
Which I'm sure most guys will think is a bummer. I like her new look. Yes, she's still gorgeous, but now she's a person.
Camilla brings truth. She is truly breathing life into Lara Croft. And when Lara is supposed to be going through an emotional scene, you'll see tears streaming down Camilla's face, and it's real.
People ran over to her, like, are you okay? Like, she's got mascara running and tears streaming down her cheeks, and she's like, oh yeah. And you're like, wow.
When I got this role at first, I did not even know that I would be crying so much. I just thought I'd be kicking butt. That was the Lara that I thought I'd gotten myself into. This was some of the most emotionally and physically draining work that I'd ever done. This is the very first time I get to see this. Oh God, they had to do it. They had to do it.
So the fans have now seen Lara's first kill. What was that moment for you like?
Intense, for sure. Probably one of the hardest things to film. She has to fight for her life. It's fascinating how she reacts to that. She doesn't just walk away from that first kill. It really gets to her, and you see her become Lara Croft.
Camilla Luddington is our new Lara Croft. Strong, spunky, gorgeous, brave. How did she get so brave? Excellent question. We're going to cover that in our next installment when we sit down with the writers who crafted the origin story of Lara Croft. Don't miss it.
Okay, so that's the first episode of the final hours, chronicling the countdown to when they actually had the game ready to release. Little Pumpkin, you don't care what others say about games. These things are too personal to depend on someone else's opinion. If you like the game, cool. If not, cool too. Exactly. That's the thing, right? Lara's height was the last thing you paid attention to. I must admit, yeah, I never sort of was measuring how tall she was and then going, is this to scale of real life? What would this be? You know. The Pumpkin Rod rage quit Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I did, but only the stream though, not the playthrough. Next week I'll be getting back to that. But if I die in that stream, instead of restarting the game in that stream, I'm just going to wait till the next week after that. So pretty much every stream of Shadow of the Tomb Raider until it's finished will be me attempting, and if I die, that's the end of that stream. Jump over to this game. And even when I've finished this game, if it takes me 2 or 3 months to still get through the Shadow of the Tomb Raider game without dying, then do a stream of that. If I die, restart the next stream and then jump to the other Tomb Raider game. Little Pumpkin, this was cool, you never saw it. Oh, nice. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I love behind the scenes stuff. It's really cool to see how things came together and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be looking for, during the week, well, until next week's stream, I'm going to be looking up some other stuff to check out. Yeah, so that's Camilla Luddington, plays Lara. Little Pumpkin, oh my god, 2 or 3 months. If it takes that long, like, this is the thing, like, I still want to get it done. I'm not going to give up on the actual playthrough, but I'm not going to try multiple attempts in one stream anymore. So next week I'll restart from the start again, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and if I die, no matter where, that's where the stream ends. Maybe not, like, if I die 5 minutes into the stream, I'm not going to end the stream, but you know what I mean. Give it a decent amount of time. If it takes me, 4 hours to get to a point and I haven't died yet, but then I die, then I'll end the stream, that kind of stuff.
Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here in downtown San Diego at Comic-Con, more specifically at Nerd HQ, which is the epicenter of all things Tomb Raider. The anticipation is building as the team from Crystal Dynamics continues to say that this could be the game of their careers. Today we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the story with some of the key writers and designers who are brave enough to tackle the origin stories of Lara Croft. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider. We're in downtown San Diego. We're at Nerd HQ. Fans, the public, will get to play the game for the first time ever. Are you nervous?
This is the most nervous time of the entire game. This is huge for us. This is the first time we're giving anybody the opportunity to put their hands on the game. It's not finished yet.
It's hard to send it out into the world like that. It's a little young, it's a little fresh.
When you put it in the public's hands, you're getting a very raw, unfiltered, like, hey, this is what we love and this is what we don't.
You'll start to read about it now. You'll start to see it online. You'll start to get people's perspectives.
We're making sure that we make it the best thing that we can for the fans, and these are the fans.
Why make an origin story? You could just kind of continue with the Lara Croft Tomb Raider saga, but you didn't. Why?
We didn't start with the idea of doing an origin story, actually. We started with the idea of doing something fresh.
There haven't been very many games that have the opportunity to go back and tell a true origin story. There is very few games like this.
In the history of the Tomb Raider franchise, there has not been a female lead writer until now, Rhianna Pratchett.
For me, I didn't think of it like we needed a female writer to do that. Rhianna just nailed it.
Rhianna Pratchett.
Yep.
Does it take a woman to know a woman?
It probably helps, but I don't kind of think about it as much as everyone else does. So I tend to think of myself as being a writer first. There is some of me in her, absolutely. She's very bookish, she's very in her head. I went to public school, I actually learned archery.
Camilla did as well, I heard.
We bring up our ladies properly. And I genuinely studied Egyptology. I wanted to be an Egyptologist.
No way.
I've always been a huge fan of kick-ass females. I mean, I grew up on Terminator and Aliens.
Yeah.
Fighting aliens in the future. I thought that was what girls did. It's great to be here at Comic-Con. This is my first time. People are really responding to this kind of new Lara. The fans have been great. They've been very supportive. I want to kind of live up to their expectations. I grew up going to fantasy and science fiction conventions. Now here I am looking at a Tomb Raider poster on the side of a building for a Tomb Raider game I have written. Can't quite process that, but it's very cool. Lara's actions affect her character and her emotional state, and so the first kill for us was a big thing. It's not comfortable to watch, and it shouldn't be. Oh, God! And it is about picking yourself up, despite the fact that you're scared. You can't have bravery without fear.
In video games, you're kind of tweaking all the way down to delivery.
Yeah.
Blessing or curse.
Games development can be quite harsh on narrative. You know, you can lose levels or characters. You have to be amazingly flexible.
When is the script finally finished?
You get insight when you see it through your audience's eyes. So once the story gets to a point where we can start sharing with people, where we can start putting it on the screen, then we start to understand, are people getting from it what we want them to get from it? The feedback is that it's really fulfilling our primary goals of delivering a story that introduces people to Lara Croft, but also just takes them on an amazing adventure.
John Stafford, you're kind of the dialogue
typist, word monkey.
The words that you've been speaking for
Yes.
so long
Yes.
are
So
from this
everything
man.
that I've been through that's been extremely emotionally draining and painful, I have him to blame for. So we'll have words later about it.
What were the challenges stepping into the heart and mind of a character like Lara Croft, who we've known for quite some time?
Yes. Players' expectation is.
You want to just jump right in, guns blazing.
Controller, I'm awesome.
I'm awesome.
We want that.
That's what video games basically allow gamers
Seriously, right?
to feel. I am awesome.
Challenge for me is to show her vulnerable.
We're shipwrecked on an island inside the Dragon's Triangle.
Still have a very playable game, but also show real emotional character. It's very difficult to do that in game.
Please come and get me.
You can do this, Lara.
When you have really extreme circumstances, you have really extreme emotions.
What the hell?
It's all about her survival. She's basically willing to do whatever it takes. There's people trying to kill you. Things are really extreme.
Listen, I'm gonna get you out of there. I promise. I promise. I didn't want any lines to sound gamey. There was a good collaboration of making sure that really that didn't happen.
That's very difficult writing. How do you write a line that isn't just like, I should go there?
Yeah.
That's.
I bet there's something hidden in that crate.
I want you to love this game in a way that really feels like the first time you played it, but do it in a way that people have never seen before. For me, it's crazy not to look at this as an opportunity to really start that dialogue.
This is a game of our careers. This truly is the first time to sort of say, okay, this is it.
Well, now that we know a bit more about what it takes to reimagine an icon from the ground up, we're headed east to go behind the sounds of Lara's journey. A journey that is heightened and shaped by cinematic score and sound design. I hope to see you on the next episode when we talk to who's behind what we're hearing in Tomb Raider.
So that was episode 2. And it's interesting when they had Rhianna Pratchett talking about how she grew up watching like Terminator and Aliens. And it's interesting because if you look at the character of Sarah Connor in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, in Terminator 1, for those who don't know what the gist is of her character, Sarah Connor, she's just a waitress who is living her life. She's got a best friend that she likes to hang out with. She's just living her life, right? But she doesn't know yet that there's going to be a machine from the future sent back in time to kill her, right? A human character from the future gets sent back by the Resistance to protect her and make sure that she doesn't get killed by the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. By the end of the Terminator movie, the human character that goes back in time dies, right? But before he does, she's like, get up off your feet. She gets really sort of like, she changes as a character, you know. So she goes from someone who is kind of very vulnerable and also frightened about what's going on with the Terminator and everything like that. And she's the one that's ultimately, you know, like trying to get Reese to get up, you know, like he's not dead at that point yet, but he's very, very injured. But she's like, you know, on your feet, soldier. So she starts to show the change in herself based on what she's experienced. In Terminator 2, which takes place quite a few years after the events of that, she's been put into a mental prison because of going to a computer factory and blowing it up, because she was trying to prevent the creation of the Terminator, right? So she gets put into that mental psychiatric prison hospital thing. And when she finds out who is the guy who actually created the technology that ultimately ends up creating the Terminators, she's like, right, I'm going to kill this son of a bitch. So she becomes very cold, very calculated, and she goes to kill this guy who has no idea about any of the stuff. He's got no idea that what he's working on will ultimately become the thing that creates this monstrous kind of technology that comes back, goes back in time to, you know, and doesn't realize the post-apocalyptic events that are going to happen because of what he's creating, right? So you have a character like Sarah Connor, who starts off being a normal person. She goes from being kind of like frightened and all that to being someone who is very confident and not afraid, and survives her ordeal, and then goes to, you know, prevent the Terminators from being creating. But what happens? She doesn't kill the guy. She ends up stopping when she sees the guy's son, and his wife is there too, sees the son jump onto him and say, "Don't kill my daddy." You know, that's the part where Sarah Connor is like, fuck, you know, and then she breaks down and cries, right? Because she gets emotional about what happened, you know. Now the reason I'm talking about this is because when you have a character who is being shown to be strong, it doesn't mean you can't also show them to have moments of sadness or emotion where they're going through something, right? You know, so that goes back to what I was saying earlier about this version of Lara, how she does get emotional about certain things and gets in pain, but it's okay. It's alright for that to happen. You know, time was that if a male character showed that emotion, they were written off and said, man up. Why are you being like that for? You know? So it's like, if you have a character who's female who's going through that, and a male who's going through that, then that should all be fine, you know? So this idea that Lara Croft has to be completely stoic the whole time, never show emotion, never get upset, never have an emotional moment of, you know, distress, to never show that, is kind of like how Sarah Connor is in Terminator 2 when she's like, right, I need to kill this guy. But then she breaks down when she realizes, oh shit, you know, this is a real human, this is someone with a family, and I'm about to shoot him, you know, I've got a child of my own, you know. And then what happens is they, you know, go to the place where he works and they ultimately blow it up, right? And he doesn't want anything to do with the project he's working on anymore. So when the writer of this game in that video we just watched was talking about how she watched Terminator and Aliens a lot, in relation to the main characters in those movies, Sarah Connor in Terminator and Sigourney Weaver in Alien and Aliens, you know, you can definitely see in this version of Lara both variations of those two characters rolled into the one in Lara herself. You know, even Sigourney Weaver, her character Ripley in Alien versus Aliens. In Alien at the start, like, she's like sort of frightened of the situation, you know, what's happening, and then she ends up being the only one left out of all the rest of the crew, and so she has to fight to survive. But that's when she really, you know, gets that really like boost of, you know, strength of character, you know, and that carries over into Aliens. But we still see her get emotional in that, but it doesn't ruin the character, you know. So this idea that a character showing emotion ruins them, whether they're male or female, and that being a thing that people are like, no, I don't like the character now because they showed emotion. is kind of a bit, you know, backwards thinking, I think, you know. But having said that though, classic Lara not showing that same emotion doesn't mean that she's a bad character. It just means, again, that back in the 90s when they were making video games, they weren't showing characters and situations in as much of a cinematic way as they are now back then. You know, so that's another difference. But yeah, it was quite interesting, because I've seen these behind the scenes videos before, but it wasn't until now that the comment that she made where she grew up watching Terminator and Aliens made me think about Sarah Connor from Terminator and Ellen Ripley from Aliens as well. So yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's okay for characters to show emotion. You know, unless they're supposed to be a character that doesn't, but then we see moments where they do, because they're just putting on a brave face for people. You know, that's a different story. You know, but I don't think it's weakness to show someone being emotional about something. Little Pumpkin, Terminator is a great movie. You loved it as a kid, and it's still a great movie today. Yeah, I actually saw the second one first, and I was about 7 when the second movie came out, and I was about 1 year old when the first movie came out. But yeah, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, I think they're the best. There's such a great duology. Hey there, Lucinda, good morning to you. Welcome to my other Tomb Raider playthrough that I'm doing with the Shadow of the Tomb Raider playthrough. I decided that I'm going to do split streams because I died twice in my Shadow of the Tomb Raider stream, and I'm like, nah, don't want to retry from the start again, so I'll start my 10th anniversary playthrough series of this game. I'm going to be playing through this game 3 times in a row, with a different focus on each game, on each playthrough, I should say. But this stream is just covering the behind the scenes stuff. Next stream I'm going to look up some other videos to check out, and then read the prequel comic to the start of this game, and then jump into the game itself. Hey there, Mariana, good morning to you as well. I hope it's going good. Hey there, Zereth, how's it going? Emotionless like Osiris. Emotionless like Osiris. The Pumpkin, you prefer how characters are in games today. You only watch Terminator 1 all the time, and second only once, maybe twice, never seen more than the first 2. You're not really missing much, Little Pumpkin, if you never ever see Terminator 3 onwards, because they just really ruin what the first 2 movies did. And the third movie, I kind of aren't as harsh on it, because it's not that terrible, but even it has some things in it that are like, really? Why would you do this to this franchise? But it pales in comparison what they've done with it in, you know, the last 2 movies. Lucinda, oh nice, another music focused playthrough. Yeah, I wanted to do that with another game series actually, because I've already done it with Assassin's Creed. I'm like, that'd be perfect, because this game also has some really great music by Jason Graves, who actually does the music for Until Dawn and the other Dark Pictures games, and The Quarry as well. Little Pumpkin, you've heard that, yes. Oh yes, it's utterly ridiculous, you know. Lucinda, so the death compilation, do you have a list, or are you just going to die in every section just to see if it's different? Yeah, I don't actually have a list. I'm going to die in every section just to see how different it is. So that'll mean once we get to a new location, fall off the edge of it. It doesn't mean like fall off on a different side of the same cliff, you know what I mean? But whenever we get to a new area, I'll be like, right, what can kill Lara in this area? And then just show it. So I thought that'd be something, you know, different to do as a playthrough as well, to try and go for that. I'll still play through the game, but I'll be taking time to see the the stuff. There's almost like a bit of a meme playthrough to do that.
Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here in the heart of London's famous West End. Behind me is BAFTA, the British Academy for Film and Television Arts. Why are we here? Excellent question. For starters, Tomb Raider, the series, has garnered a lot of love and accolade from BAFTA over the years. Some of the key players on Crystal's dev team are BAFTA LA members. And to top it all off, legendary video game composer Jason Graves is a BAFTA winner. We're going to catch up with him in just a bit, but first, a little trip to Raleigh, North Carolina, where we go behind the scenes at Jason's recording studio. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider.
First thing we did was the theme. There have been many composers in the games or the films, but they've always used the original theme. They said, we want to start with a clean slate, new theme. I did it on piano, very simple. I was really scared just to send it because I'm like, I don't know, I think this really works, I think I like it. We ended up taking that exact theme. The first demo I sent was on the first trailer. That exact same arrangement.
So, Jason, currently you're working on this reimagining of Tomb Raider. When you're taking on a new project, what are the things that attract you to that project? The heritage of a particular game, I think, obviously.
And don't even get me started on Tomb Raider. I literally almost drove off the road. I was on the phone with the audio director. Like, oh, stoplight! And I had to pull over a little bit to not hit the car behind me. What I loved about Tomb Raider, what really drew me to the project was they had no pre-existing conditions.
Because they wanted to get out of what it used to be.
They wanted something new. They wanted something fresh.
Jason's done hundreds of games by this point. He was an easy choice for us to go with on paper because he has such great experience. I listened through a lot of different material from a lot of different composers. I was really taken by how well he did the intimate stuff. The textures and the real, intimate and vulnerable bits that we needed to highlight in the game were a great match for us.
What is square one for you when you start wrapping your head around it going, this is where I feel like this world is going to exist?
Main theme, call me old-fashioned. Then it was a matter of finding out what kind of percussion would work. And always going back to the melody and the theme, because that's kind of the heart of the game.
The most signature thing that we need to get right is Lara's theme. One of our big goals was that it can be used in any emotional context. What does it sound like? High action. What does it sound like when she's in pain?
For music, the gameplay and the concept art, especially with the scavengers and kind of the shanty town, corrugated metal, how everything's kind of this amalgam of different stuff that they found on the island. It's like, that's what I want the music to sound like. The bad guys are playing the music now. Alex said something like, it'd be really cool to have something, chains on a metal board or like you're banging a metal fence.
2 weeks later, Jason calls me up and he's like, so this guy who's like this sculptor who lives right around the corner from me, I was talking to him about the idea of creating an instrument. And I'm like, that sounds completely insane. We have to do that.
Tackling the score to one of the most iconic franchises in the world brought a unique challenge. How best to capture the emotional timbre of the characters and island in music? People, I give you the instrument.
The instrument. I was going to let Matt determine the aesthetics. I was really only concerned about the sounds that the sculpture was going to make. Matt built this, which looks pretty much exactly like Laura's original homemade bow in the game. There's different timbres based on different materials, metal, glass. It's a direct line from the plot, the characters, the story, the environment, straight to the sculpture.
We always wanted the island to have that character in itself. Creating an instrument gave it this unique identity.
It's got a voice.
Yeah.
The very beginning of the game is nothing but the instrument.
Who do you look at in video games or in film that you go, what they've done has shaped who I am and what I do for a living?
They're all dead, unfortunately.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's classical composers.
All classical?
Yeah, I'm kind of going directly back to the source.
Yeah.
Prokofiev's, Tchaikovsky. Even for some of the scary stuff, you've got Penderecki, who's a Polish composer. Actually, he's still alive. It kind of goes back to ballets or opera, which is kind of the precursor to film and video games. You know, they were telling a story. That's what I love about that music. It tells a story. Even if you don't know the plot, you can listen to it, and film music's the same way.
It's tough with games to do things that are subtle. You want to make Lara relatable, make her realistic.
Another one. She went down over there.
Tell her story from the beginning and show how she became the superhero she becomes.
One of the first things that I ask any developer is the emotion. Because to me, that's the biggest thing that music can do in a tenth of a second. The music just, it nails the emotion.
Wow, that was amazing, huh? I personally don't think I've ever sounded so good in an interview before, although Jason, Jack, and Alex are audio savants, so that would make perfect sense. I cannot wait to jump into this game, not just for the amazing action, but the emotion and mood and tone that they're going to set with their incredible skill. Tune in next time for a special secret announcement that is going to change the way you play Tomb Raider forever. See you soon.
Yeah, Lucinda. So it's going to be funny, that playthrough. Little Pumpkin, my god, 10 years for Tomb Raider 2013 already? Absolutely, Little Pumpkin. And I have so many games that I'm going to be doing playthroughs for to celebrate their anniversaries. Like, Black Flag came out the same year. Outlast came out the same year, so I'm doing anniversary playthroughs for those. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, the original, came out 20 years ago, so I'm doing a playthrough for that. Resident Evil 2 original, 25 years ago. So there's just so many different games that I'll be doing playthroughs for to celebrate their anniversaries. 10th, 15th, and a 25th there.
Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here. Over the last few months, we've brought you exclusive behind-the-scenes looks at the final hours of development of Tomb Raider. You've seen Camilla recording her last few lines, Rihanna musing her last few words, and Jason completing the last few notes of the score. As those key pieces lock into place, it's time to reveal one of the last portions of the game, and a team that's been shrouded in secrecy for 2 years. We're here in the beautiful and freezing Montreal, Canada, to bring you the final hours of Tomb Raider Multiplayer Edition. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider. Welcome to yet another world-class studio in the Square Enix portfolio, Eidos Montreal, home of the multi-award-winning game Deus Ex. Locked away in one of the far corners of the studio is a team of experienced, passionate professionals who have been specially brought together to create the first ever multiplayer component to the Tomb Raider universe. Let's meet the team behind the vision, direction, and decisions, and hopefully get a chance to play a few rounds. Here we are at Eidos Montreal. Before we get into why we're here, Carl, you now have an amazing stash, my friend. What is the impetus behind this?
As a studio, we've been participating in Movember. A good friend of mine, JJ Owens, works for Movember in LA. We set up the gaming challenge, and we brought studios from all around the world together. I think so far we've raised somewhere in the region of $140,000, $150,000.
Well done.
Been a big success, although my wife doesn't necessarily always approve.
She hates it? Oh,
my wife wakes up in the
She
morning.
says that she hates it. She secretly loves it. What were some of the factors that led to a multiplayer facet to this new Tomb Raider?
When we started developing sort of our vision for reimagining Tomb Raider, on paper, it was all about single player. And as we started to build that world out, we had the island, we had the Solarian, the scavengers. We started to realize that we had this canvas.
Great warring factions, great landscapes.
Yeah, we had all these really awesome places where it was all about traversal and single player. When we started looking at that, we thought, wow, well, what about multiplayer?
Part of the genesis of that was Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light that kind of cracked open a door to lead you guys into the multiplayer into here at Eidos Montreal.
Guardian Light was a downloadable, a smaller scale project, and that allowed us to sort of take the risks that we wouldn't necessarily take on a full-blown project.
Guardian of Light was our Pixar short. It's the idea that whilst you're building your big project, you're always thinking about that next thing, but also allowed us to be able to start understanding co-oping and networking. It was a game that actually brought Tomb Raider fans together for one of the very first times. You hear them in their ear and they were having fun. And as a result of that, that led to us thinking about multiplayer.
Hopefully our single-player experience we're delivering is a very sort of single-player, solitary, immersive type of experience. But at the same time, we believed tomb raiding together with friends would be fun.
Tomb raiding, I think that's the first time I've ever heard that term. I like that.
It's fun. You know, axe climbing and zip lining and the traversal that we get in there and the traps. For me, it was very sad to have that catch-22 of it would be great to do this in multiplayer, but we just can't split our resources like that.
And that's how Eidos Montreal came about. We had staffed up our teams to develop a single player. Everybody was gelling together really well, and it wasn't something that we wanted to just bolt on. We always said if we were going to do it, we're going to do it right.
If you could have a fan play the multiplayer for the first time, what do you want them saying?
For me, they're kind of different moods. It's not like I do one or the other. It's kind of like sometimes I turn down the lights and just play that single-player experience, and other times I want to just jump in and have fun and start killing fools.
Joe Curry, producer of multiplayer on Tomb Raider. It's the first time Tomb Raider has ever incorporated multiplayer, and you're in charge of that.
Yeah.
What's running through your mind when you get that call?
Well, first off, exciting, right? I mean, we're all huge fans of Tomb Raider on the team. I mean, we grew up with Lara Croft. But when we spoke to Crystal, like, we want to do multiplayer, and we're thinking, how do you do that? It's always been Lara's story.
You've been in charge of creating the first ever Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
No pressure.
Multiplayer?
No pressure, Zach. Thank you.
What are some of the main pillars that you brought over from the single player to the multiplayer to make those two worlds cohesive?
The element that really stuck out was survival. The group surviving together.
Right.
But then traversal, the ability to go up and down and kind of everywhere in a level. The weapons, you know, the characters.
What did you guys have to tweak in order to create an engaging multiplayer experience that wouldn't necessarily work with the pieces that were in play with the single player experience?
One example is the bow. Especially in the reboot, it's so iconic that we had to make it work for multiplayer. You have a certain forgiveness when you play single player. Multiplayer, players expect snappiness. I shoot you, I expect you to go down, or you can just do what I do, which is take out the biggest gun and just run for them and shoot them out. The environment itself can be a threat. The Solari, you know, the guys that are on the island have had a chance to prepare traps. We've got things like an ammo box that looks like an ammo box, but it's really an explosive device.
I need ammo, and it looks just like the regular ammo box, and then you're gonzo.
We have a lightning rod. You'll get a lightning strike on the rod, and then you'll eliminate your enemy. First and foremost, we want to be humble. We want players to just have a really memorable experience. I had fun doing this. Do you remember when we set that trap? Moments that the players will come back to and talk about experiences that they've had for themselves, not necessarily the game offering them experiences.
Absolutely. So, Joe, behind us we have the QA team, or the quality assurance team.
They're a part of the development team. They can tell us what we need to fix and what's working and what's not.
When do I get to game test? When do I get to get my hands on the game?
Soon. We got a surprise for you first, Zach.
So, when I was approached to host the final hours of Tomb Raider, essentially the biggest ask, not even ask, tell that I had was, I want to be in the game. I want to have a cameo, I want to have something. So guess what? Boom! 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 I'm a playable character in the multiplayer Tomb Raider. How sick is that, Joe? You and your team are awesome. I can play with myself, virtually. Are we ready? Oh, that burns! You suck! Get those transmitters running. Radio transmitter activated! We're getting off this damn island? We send this signal.
Beautiful.
I would like to try and kick your butt as me in this map right now. Should we try it? All right.
Bring it.
Let's do it. It's happening right now. Oh, nice! Was that one of my traps?
That was one of your traps.
Yeah! These movie traps are really fun. I mean, they're really, really fun. Yeah! Don't worry about it. Just because you made the game and I beat it. As you can see from the people and passion here at Eidos Montreal, this isn't just some add-on. They're devoting themselves to making this an experience in keeping with the feeling of single player. Familiar, yet different. Coming up in the final 2 episodes of our series, we go back to the home of Lara Croft. They're taking Tomb Raider to the finish line, and we'll be there for it.
Yeah, they are 19. yeah, time just goes so fast, and when you're a gamer and you're looking forward to what's coming out next, that's obviously like a year or two, and then you like look back and you're like, shit, it's been 10 years since I played this game for the first time, and then you think, damn, how many games have come out since then that show how things have changed as well. But Pumpkin, people say multiplayer sucks here, you never tried it. Me neither, to be honest. I'm not really a big fan of multiplayer stuff, so it was never a part of this game that I was, really wanting to play and explore, so I haven't actually tried it myself. So that was the episode about the multiplayer. So we've got 2 more episodes left for the final hours documentary. After I've shown these, I'll be ending the stream, and then next week I'll be looking for some other behind-the-scenes stuff that I could put together that's not on the game itself, and then finish that with reading the prequel comic, and then starting the actual gameplay for the playthrough. 19. Replaying the games and playing remasters next gen, you forget how old some games are by now. That's the thing too, when you do play those remasters and how many years have passed since then, and you think to yourself, damn, has time really gone that fast? Multiplayer was fun in this game. I see you enjoyed it, so you had a good time with it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's always good if the experience offered is enjoyed, so that's good that you had a good time with it. I'm assuming that the servers are long since down for it, or they still have it active. If so, that's pretty impressive, like 10 years on, if they have.
Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here, again for the final time, back full circle in Redwood City. Behind me, inside, critics and fans alike are getting some hands-on experience, an hour's worth of gameplay of pre-release code. Simultaneously, the studio dev team is hard at work crunching, optimizing, and polishing all the last little bits of code for what we will all come to know and love as the new Tomb Raider. It's a culmination of everything, and the clock is ticking. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider.
Tonight we have a large audience coming in. We decided that rather than going to one of our partners and just doing a live stream, we decided you come to us. Yeah. We have a big area in the studio, and let's open it up.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
No, we've never done it, because right now we've got black curtains up around a specific area of the studio, which is our next big thing. Mm-hmm. Only a select few people have been allowed to come in, right. And everybody's heavily NDA'd, and now we're going to bring 80 plus people into the studio. Well, it's exciting, to bring those type of people into the studio. They're the fans. They're the people who love it. And we want people to be a part of their experience.
On one half of the studio, all that is going on like crazy. But basically in half the studio, you guys are just pounding, working out every last glitch, every last bug, making sure that it's all just
perfect,
done and perfect. Exactly. For your certs on Friday.
Yeah.
What happens when a game fails, sir?
Then things start getting sweaty around here. You're dicing with death right there. We might be missing a release date.
That's how big a day this Friday is.
Yeah, it's huge.
If we submit and they come back and say, hey, there's maybe 35 things that we'd like to change, then as a studio, we'll change it. We'll improve them. Or there's small things that they say, hey, this experience might be better if you just fix this little thing. Then of course the team are literally sitting there waiting for that to happen. And there has been games I've worked on where we've submitted, and within 24 hours it would get kicked back and they'd say, hey, you guys are crazy, you shouldn't have submitted it.
So there are 80 people in the office right now. You're 4.5 days away from delivering this thing, and they're strewn about. What are they all doing?
So we have guys working out of very prioritized hit lists, right? So we say, okay, this is the most egregious thing that we've noticed lately. We'd like for you to focus in on it.
What are you guys debugging here?
Looking at some menu transitions.
Oh yeah, we want to make sure everything feels snappy all the time.
Menu transitions, if I had a nickel for every time.
One of the toughest things with Lara as a character is her hair.
You try to simulate hair in a video game, and
Oh, yeah.
it's not always exactly the way it would be in real life. But that's something that's, I think the fans really point that out, and they want Lara to look as good and as believable as possible. So even in the home stretches, we're trying to sweeten it and make you believe it. So I spend a ton of time playing the game.
So while everybody else is busting their butts trying to make it work, you're having fun. That's basically what you're saying. There's about 80 people that are all still busily working in this last week before the game goes to cert.
Absolutely.
One of those groups is called the what group?
The OMS group.
And what does OMS stand for?
OMS is an acronym for Oh My Shit.
And what does that mean exactly?
When you're into the high octane moment, the only response that we were challenging the team that it could come back with was, I would exclaim, "Oh my shit, that's awesome!" Right? Like, I couldn't even cuss properly.
It could have been the OMHG, the Oh My Holy God team.
Yeah.
But Oh My Shit,
Oh
I
My
think
Shit,
is
it resonated.
sufficient.
So many companies focus on the explosions, and we love explosions. I mean, there's plenty of them in the game. But it's also about sometimes that implosion moment, that time where you actually feel like you're part of that. We have an early example in the scavenger den, very early in the game, where the camera is about 6 inches from the back of her head as she's in this claustrophobic moment as the ceiling gets lower and lower and the water gets higher and higher, and her torch, you're worried, is it going to go out? And as you suck in for that moment, if it's resonating with people, as we've seen it resonate here, you actually watch people who are claustrophobic kind of lean back in their chair a little and kind of react, and that's exactly what an OMS team is about.
You feel confident that in 4 days, in 4.5 days, this thing is like ready to ship and ready to rock and gonna blow people's minds?
How about we look at that? I got a board that'll tell us.
Oh yeah, where's your board?
Right over here. I'm a stats guy, right? Like,
Okay.
it's got to be like the McNamara version of reality, right? So, and getting things done, like it's very NORAD-like with the update on where we are with bug count. So we have the number of days that we want to count down for, the priorities of what people are given against, and then an overview of how many things are remaining to be resolved per person.
Carrie's got her work cut out for her. Come on, Carrie.
Yeah. Ultimately, we have to figure out how do we hit the quality on a predictable timeline. So right now, we're trending towards being able to hit that in 12 days.
But you need to deliver in 4.5.
Correct.
So what does that mean?
I need to go right now.
Where's your head at right now, knowing that in 4 days, it's got to be completely done?
I'm super critical of what we do. You know, you tend to be perfectionists. I'm absolutely that way. It's more like, this is leaving now. You're done working on it because time's up. And you're like,
but there could be one more thing I could do.
It's a weird feeling because it's been part of our lives for a very long time.
How long have you been on it?
Definitely 4 years, yeah. Like
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
That's insane.
I know. I was young.
Yeah.
Fresh face.
I was young then.
Yes. No bags, no
I had a
grey hair.
soul.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster ride, and during that time we've been around the world, we've gone to shows, we've shown press, we've given hands-on, we've had community events, we've been in San Diego with you at Nerd Machine. We've seen people excited to see this and play this game, and it's been awesome. It's not just about Lara's arc, it's about the arc of people who've come in to the roles. You know, we've had people come in as animators and move up to the highest levels in their profession along these 4 years. So people have grown in these roles. Families have expanded, kids have been born, but we're coming to a point now where we're, you know, probably 70, 80 plus days away from launch, and this phase has come to an end. You know, it's been awesome.
With less than a week to go before console certification, the last few bugs to squash, and a general lack of sleep all around, this production is definitely going to go down to the wire. Will they make it? Join us next time on the final hours of Tomb Raider to find out.
Sorry guys, they didn't make it. They didn't get the game out on time. This is all just a dream right now. This game doesn't actually exist. When you wake up, you'll be like, what Tomb Raider game from 2013? Tomb Raider ended in 2010, didn't it? Spoiler alert. 19, no idea. You got it to pretty late, so it was already kind of empty, but you'd say they're dead. Yeah, that's the thing, I guess, too. Whatever resources that they need to put to it to keep it going versus, I guess, the interest and all that kind of stuff, and how many people are actually playing day to day would be a dictating, you know, factor for that kind of stuff. imagine what that must feel like when you have, it's like you got 80 days left. Or it's like, if I just had 5 more minutes, nope, sorry, we can't, has to go now. But I just want, nope, sorry, but just one, I just have to press one key, nope, sorry. It's like those people who show up just as the store's about to close, and they're like, don't worry, I know exactly what I'll get, I'll be in, and then I'll be out in 5 seconds. 10 minutes later, oh shit, I'm so sorry, I thought I knew what I wanted, but it wasn't here. Xerath, the Templars found them. They did. The Templars were like, you can't do this. What are you doing this for? Well and truly, Little Pumpkin, there really is, and every single individual thing that we're seeing right now, someone had to spend time on it. Someone had to do the font. Someone had to place the font. Someone had to do the placement of the imagery. Someone had to decide on what the left of the screen was going to look like. Someone had to be like, right, what scene do we want to have playing? And all this kind of stuff. The texturing, someone had to do that. Someone had to make sure that the waves look as realistic as possible. Someone had to make sure that the rain doesn't just fall down straight, that it also changes depending on the wind. Someone has to deal with all that kind of stuff. So when you think about that, and like in games, when I get upset at a game and I say, fucking hell developers, why didn't you do this? It's from a place of just in the moment, in the frustration of the experience. It's not a slight against them or their skills, because there's just so much going on that, maybe if they were given an extra week, they would have been able to fix that part of it or whatnot, but they weren't able to. Okay, so we have the final episode of the final hours making of, and then that's where I'll end the stream. And then next week I'll do another stream of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. If I die in that stream, relatively far into my stream day, then I'll just call it a stream and then jump to this. So it'll be a bit of a jumping back and forth kind of thing next week with Shadow of the Tomb Raider in this game. And however long it takes to get Shadow of the Tomb Raider done, I'll be doing that with whatever Tomb Raider game I'm up to. So that's going to be how it goes. So one more episode to watch. 19, good watching. Have a good night. I absolutely will. Thank you so much for joining, 19. Especially too, because it's just a stream where there's no gameplay. I'm not going to be starting the actual playing of the game just yet, but kind of being an impromptu sort of like stream anyway, because I wasn't really expecting, like at the start of my Shadow of the Tomb Raider stream, I was saying that, I might have to, and I might actually start to do split streams if I'm not going to get through the game without dying on an attempt relatively, soon. And it wasn't until I died twice in the previous stream of it that I was like, you know what, fuck it, this week I'll start doing the split stream of that and this Tomb Raider game. But thanks so much for watching, 19. I hope you have a good one.
Over the last few months, we've followed the very talented Tomb Raider team through some of the most ambitious and innovative game development the industry has ever seen. In the next few days, they submit the final code for certification. If they pass, game ships on time and everyone gets a much-deserved sleep. If they fail, well, let's not talk about that. I'm Zachary Levi, and these are the final hours of Tomb Raider.
We've been around for 20 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
In this industry, that's crazy.
Yeah.
20 years of games, and many times we've almost not made it, right? Through generation transitions, or you've had ups and downs in terms of games being released. And for us to still be here, making games and being competitive, it's amazing.
Is this pretty typical for you guys to be in the last week and really all you've got left are these little bugs to do?
Maybe it's a few hundred still left to go. The team's cranking them out. You're play testing it a lot. You're getting QA, quality assurance, to make sure it's clean. Stuff's coming in still, as in like, hey, this crazy thing happened here.
And simultaneously, IDOS Montreal is doing what you're doing, just with the multiplayer at the same time, because the multiplayer and the single player are being delivered at the same time.
So it's a big
on
team.
Friday.
Everybody's got to come together at the same time, at the same moment, and put pencils down and say they're done.
Pencils down.
Done.
See. We're submitting in 4 days. Let me tell you now. We've had to move Brian Horton. He was art director. He moved over to my department in Brand about a month ago. There was a morning that he woke up and they went, "You've created a beautiful world. now step aside.
So my job is I'm working with a very talented team in the brand to make sure our screenshots are good, to make sure we have covers for magazines,
posters,
to make sure we
all
have
that stuff,
posters.
right.
There's a lot of materials, just like in a film.
Yeah.
Where when a film's done and in the can,
Yeah.
you have to sell it to
Yeah.
people. You have to let them know what's cool about it.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm coming to get you. I'm going to get you out of there. I promise, Sam.
What's been great about this over the course of the entire process, you traveling around with us, is that we've been able to bring you the final hours of each of the pieces.
Yeah.
We've spent probably the last 6 months watching how the music's come to an end and the voice acting has to be done. So each of our episodes up until now has really shown a side of the final hours of that particular person's role in the game. And now everything's come to a head where we're submitting the game this week. The guys are tirelessly working. You know, the guys have literally, at some cases, slept in the studio.
Okay, so launch day, let's say you were at March 5th now. Where are you? What are you doing?
I'm probably in bed trying to get 12 hours sleep. Because more than likely I would have been at some midnight opening the night before up till very late celebrating. So I'm probably at this time of the day, I'm probably in bed.
I think a lot of us won't even know what to do with ourselves. You get so heads down in something, and it's been a part of our lives for years now. And you sort of get to that point where waking up in the morning, you're thinking about the game, and going to bed at night, you're thinking about the game. I'll try to sneak a little time here over the holidays, but then, you know, wait till the dust settles and we really get this in the hands of the consumers before I can really relax, I think.
Even though I've played the game so many times, I cannot wait to take the cellophane off that game.
Yeah.
Pop it in.
Yeah.
It's the
a ritual,
retail.
yeah.
It's the retail copy.
Yeah.
And there's something special about that printed disc, putting it into the system, and you're like, this is the same game that I worked on for 3 years plus, and everyone else can have the same experience that I'm going to have right now.
Yeah. Of all the taglines, whether they're actual dialogue in the game or marketing lines or whatever, something that would sum up your experience over the last 4 years is A Survivor is Born.
Yeah.
A Survivor is born in you, A Survivor is born in Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah. We just wanted to be known as doing top-tier work. There's games I look at and say, I wish I worked on that game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I wanted Crystal to be that. And I think that with this one, we're going to do it.
Yeah, anybody can make an explosion look beautiful and make a world look phenomenal, but we now move into a period of time where it's about having a connection with something which is much deeper than just saying I have a controller in my hand and I'm guiding a character around and fighting or solving puzzles. There's a depth in the story that we're trying to tell, which hopefully for us is going to be able to set that structure for the future. Hopefully we've taken the risk and we've been shouting so loud about this that we're actually carving what should be done.
Oh, don't do this to me, you northern bastard.
Are you excited? You nervous?
I'm both excited and nervous, you know, because we've been masters of our own destiny up until this point, and now we're going to continue that right through to launch. And what's great is that from the very first presentation I gave with Daryl about here's the vision of the game, all the way through to the very first game sitting on a shelf on March 5th, we've been there for the ride. We've been on that journey. And then all of a sudden you reach March 5th and
you're no longer
there's millions of copies of your game out there, and they're in people's hands, and you're thinking, like, how are they playing it? Are they having fun? What are they saying? What are they going to do? As soon as they put the controller down, what's the next thing for them? Do they want to tell people?
What do you want their response to be?
I hope those people see that the story we've built and the foundation we've built is one that will last a long time.
Doing something that's special is just incredibly tough, no matter what it is. You've got to really want it. You have to be passionate. You have to care about it.
Everybody realizes that this is the game of their career, and everybody wants to put as much time and energy into this as possible.
We have a studio full of passionate people who have put their lives into making this thing happen.
This is not just a game that we're just going to ship on March 5th and people will go, great, I've got another game to my credits. This is one where the team are going to look back and go, that was a journey. It's been an honor to be able to work on Tomb Raider, and long may it continue. I see this getting bigger and better over the next few years.
That's okay, 19. There's no worries at all about thinking I was ending before. That's okay. Zareth, do you realize the old day Egypt could be called Tomb Raiders? Oh yeah. You know, going to areas that have hidden things and, you know, discovering them, and, you know, obviously there became a point where archaeologists took a lot of care, but there would have been times where it was just like, oh my god, we found something, just get it out of the ground now, and then when they do, it's damaged and busted up when it could have been in pristine condition before, you know. That's actually a good question, 19. When does archaeology become grave robbing? It's actually a good question, really. Because, I mean, if you look at archaeology, obviously it deals a lot with history, right? And, you know, the longer something has been since it first was in existence, so much stuff could have changed, and the peoples that created that thing in the first place might be long gone by the point. You know, so any ownership issues, it's kind of like, well, where would it reside? You know, who deserves it? You know, that kind of stuff as well. Zereth, Assassin's Creed, you missed the word assassins. Did you? AC, you missed the word assassins. 19, literally taking people's stuff. That's true, you know. Stuff that isn't actually theirs. So this expedition footage stuff, I think this is just what we can see in the game itself. So that is covering the behind the scenes videos. In the next stream, which will be much longer than this one, what I'm going to do is cover the comic book and also show the art book and the concept art book. Go through the comic book and also show some other behind the scenes stuff that I'll look on YouTube for and that. So the next stream of this will be next week after my Shadow of the Tomb Raider stream, because next week I'll be doing another attempt to get through Shadow of the Tomb Raider without dying. And if I die after a decent amount of time in that stream, I'll end that stream there and then jump to this game again. If I die in a short amount of time, like if I start the game again and I die like 20 minutes in, I'm not going to end the stream, I'll do another attempt. But I won't spend hours and hours trying to get through the game if I'm going to die and then have to restart and then die and restart and die and restart and just focus on that only. So from here on out, there'll be 2 Tomb Raider streams every Friday. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, No Death Challenge, and Tomb Raider 2013 celebrating the game's 10th anniversary. Just want to thank everyone so much for watching this stream. The next stream of this will be next Friday. The next stream you'll see from me will be Assassin's Creed Revelations, and I'm doing my No HUD challenge as part of my annual series run with that. And speaking of Assassin's Creed Revelations specifically, Crocodiles, a friend of mine, he's actually streaming that game right now. So we're going to go and raid Crocodiles to see how he's going with Assassin's Creed Revelations. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Little Pumpkin, this was cool. Never seen these. Good night. Yeah, I actually quite like watching these from time to time. Every so often in a playthrough, I'll put them on, because I really do like behind the scenes stuff. But you have a good one, Little Pumpkin. I definitely will have a good night. Thank you. Lucinda, that's absolutely no worries at all for the stream. Thank you so much for joining. That's okay, Zereth. Same to you as well. No worries at all for the stream. Oh, thank you so much, 19. I definitely will have a good night. No trouble at all. I hope you do as well. So I'd like to highly recommend people check out Maxi, Lucinda, Dr. Ronnie, and Shin. So Maxi is playing through Assassin's Creed Syndicate. He's playing through all the games in the series, and that's the current one that he's up to. He has a lot of funny channel points rewards, both visual ones, but also audio ones as well. He's very good at coming up with memes, and you'll have a great time. He has a chill atmosphere over on his channel. Lucinda is playing Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, so that's the original Resident Evil 3. Doing a Resident Evil marathon, which of course is going to include the remake of 4 when that comes out as well, and is also a fan of stealth games like Dishonored, as well as other horror games like part of the Evil Within series. A great streamer as well, has a great atmosphere and a great community over on her channel. Highly recommend Ronnie as well. He's playing through Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia. He played through China and India, and now he's playing through Russia. He's also a fan of Red Dead Redemption. He actually wears a hat when he's streaming, and he changes what hat he's wearing depending on what game. And he's going to be wearing a special hat for Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia. He's actually a scientist in real life as well, working on cures for things like Parkinson's and MS. And also highly recommend checking out Shin's channel, playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla. He's also a fan of JRPGs as well as MMORPGs also. And yeah, highly recommend checking out those streamers if you haven't before. Lucinda, no worries at all for the shout out. Zereth, he memes well by them. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of the channel points that he's got are very, you know, memey as well. So here's a raid message that people can feel free to put in if you'd like. And there we go. I hope that everyone has a good one. Thanks again for watching. If you check the past broadcast, you'll find the stream of Shadow of the Tomb Raider that I did, where I unfortunately died twice, which is damn frustrating. There's also clips of each death that's happened so far in that playthrough also that you can find in the clips section under videos. Thanks everyone for watching, and catch you next time.